finance, and then,
Right. Okay. 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 I'll hang on to it and you tell me. No. I just telling Sue that it's very funny. If I have to go to a meeting, it'd be super cool. I'll bring it. But, other than that, it's yeah. Well, that's right. Well, exactly. So, but other than that, I think it's kind of useless because it doesn't have an external port or anything. Is it?
I had mine for about 4 years. It was done. Sounds neat there. That's what sounds good. I have to remember to change that later. We don't have to service at home. So if anybody.
Oh, that's a great one. I saw that. I texted photo from the very top of the list. Sorry. Oh, no. Oh. I don't care. I've got no life. It doesn't matter to me. You're dressed. I think I lost my job.
What's your word for it?
Oh. Being the previous finance chair.
Yeah, there we go. Well, and I have worn my kilt here twice. The 2 inaugurations, I think that was about it.
I never had the opportunity before.
No. Well, not yet.
Not yet.
We're young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what. No. What was the excuse last time? Was I out of town or was was I still COVID-y?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very disappointing. And then you were out of town first time.
Yeah. Well, one of the I am one of the proofreaders for the Machosen Muse, and one of the perks is you get to see it a few days before it comes out. So you might see something like the soon-to-be ex-mayor playing an instrument in the newspaper. Yeah.
Very
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, the whole darn band. But I can say no more. Oh, by the way, we have out on our schedule another meeting of council and all committees for 1 week tonight.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to do that?
Yeah. The last meeting.
Okay. Yeah. No. Oh, no, I know that. I was just wondering if we wanted to go 2 weeks instead of 1 week is what I was thinking. Oh, okay. No, we might just have council and finance and environment. Okay.
You gotta give it a shot, eh?
No, we're going to do final reading.
Yeah.
Final reading at council. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. that's fine. Council's good.
Regardless of I agree with everything everybody said.
Right on. Right. Sarah, you guys good to go? Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the penultimate meeting of this group of individuals around the table. We have our final meeting together prior to the inauguration of the new council will be 1 week tonight. So we have 4 committee meetings tonight, followed by council. And at each of the committee meetings, there will be an opportunity for public participation. At council, there will be an opportunity for public participation. And if you've come here to speak to an issue, if you have the opportunity, please do so at the committee or council where that issue is being discussed. If you're not sure, just step right up and ask. Councillor Sherry Epp sends her regrets at being unable to join us at the table tonight. She's on the tag end of COVID, and so we thank her for not joining us tonight. Her energy levels are flagging. We had meetings earlier this afternoon, and so she has decided she will join us for council later on this evening. So we'll, by way of telephone. Yeah, no, you don't have to clear the room or by way of telephone. And I will chair her committee meeting earlier on. So we'll start with the Finance and Environment Committee meeting. For the agenda, we have 2 items that we've received fairly recently, what we call pinks, because they're printed on pink paper. But with the addition of those 2, I will take a motion to approve. Oh, are there any other additions to the agenda? No? I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as amended with the pinks. Councillor Little, Councillor Kahakawila, all in favor, opposed. There are no presentations, so here's an opportunity for public participation for Finance and Environment Committee. If anybody wants to speak to any of the issues on the agenda, I'd invite you to come up to the microphone here. For all public participation tonight, please begin with your name and address. Speak clearly into the microphone and limit yourself to 4 minutes. Well, that was enough to intimidate people. Okay.
This one?
Oh, here we go.
Good evening. My name is Barb Sawatsky, 4713 Kavir Road. I understand that Council has received a letter regarding the Victoria Motorcycle Club's property tax exemption. To clarify, the only affiliation or interest I have ever had with the club was to watch some of their past events, at which time I was impressed with its multi-generational membership and participation. As a counter-argument, I suggest that perhaps the Machosen Equestrian Club should pay an appropriate sum for their use of the riding ring and horse trailer parking. After all, they are given a portion of the municipal grounds for their exclusive use for $1 a year. I do not believe that anyone other than equestrians, Machosen taxpayer or not, is allowed to use the ring without their permission, and without argument it uses a substantial area within the municipal boundary. I also understand there are no stipulations that members must be Machosen taxpayers to belong to the club, even though the area is on district property. However, I am really not suggesting anything change for the equestrians. But I'm suggesting that in return, nothing changes for the motorcycle club, who at least own and maintain their property. Their club fills a positive function in the CRD by providing much-needed green space, for promoting physical activity, and for the family events it hosts, which are entirely run through their club with no expectation of assistance from the district, barring this tax exemption. If we're talking fiscal responsibility, it would only be fair to review all the low-fee and tax exemption user groups in Metchosin: the Cricket Club, Art Pod, Community House, MACA, Metchosin Hall Church, etc., to clarify how they benefit most of the residents who live in this community. But wouldn't it be best to just let things ride? Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Good evening, Brent Donaldson, Chalister Court. I am an elected director of the Victoria Motorcycle Club. I had planned on coming this evening, and that was to thank council or the committee for your continued support. But given that there was an attached letter that I received earlier this morning, I thought it prudent that I come and give an overview, especially since we have an audience. The last time I spoke to you folks regarding the Victoria Motorcycle Club was about a year ago, and it was for the tax exemption. I went through all sorts of different examples of the benefits and alike, but I think I will do those tonight just for the benefit of yourselves and for the folks that are here. To start off with, the Victoria Motorcycle Club is the oldest club in Western Canada. It was formed in 1903, and the property was purchased in 1964. I've invited our life member, Harold Perropalkin, who is a long-term member of our community, as well as he was involved with the purchase of the property in the 60s. So I'm going to rely on him from the historical point of view. So when it came up to our executive and we were pondering our tax situation, we had a couple options, and one was to operate the club under a managed forest. We met with the planner, Sherry Hurst, and her recommendation was to follow through with a tax exemption through the municipality, and she thought that we ticked all the boxes that were required in order to move forward. So in doing so, we made our presentation, or certainly I did last year, and I felt good about it. I know there was lots of questions, but certainly I think I answered them all, and I think at the end of the day, I thought that we would be successful again. Just an overview, the club is a registered nonprofit society. We make yearly donations to the BC Cancer Society, BC Prostate Ride for Life, Children's Health Foundation. On an aside note of that, we made a donation to a local Metchosin rider who did a long-term ride up in Cowichan, and he raised $20,000. So we do put money back into the community. The fire department, we have utilized them with the blessing of our fire chief for some of our activities where first aid's required, and we make a donation to their society. We have an event coming up this weekend, and we've employed the Metchosin Scouts. They're going to do our concession. So we're community-minded, and we spread the wealth. On a side note, last year, the Chief Dunlop utilized the motorcycle property for a wildland interface exercise, and I wish I had the pictures because the parking lot was filled with all different colors of fire trucks, a few red. We have been good neighbors. We've been there a long time, and we take the ownership of our property seriously. As an example, the club has been closed. The top portion, which is 160 acres, which is a quarter section, and we close that every year in extreme fire. We don't have to close it, but I've worked with the fire chief, and we felt it would be in the best interest of our neighbors as well as our property to maintain that forest. It's not accessible by vehicle other than the bottom 12 acres, which Chief Dunlop has seen. We have water tanks up there and portable fire extinguishers or backpacks. So we take our property very seriously. The 172 acres provides wildlife refuge from development that's taking place on our borders. One would have to go into the industrial lands or Center Mountain to understand that a lot of those animals are coming our way. And that is prudent by just looking at the property and seeing what's happening over there.
1 minute, Brad.
Okay, thanks. We spent over hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax money over the years supporting the municipality, we have 70 members that live in Machosen, and we have 50 junior members. So I'm going to pass it over to Harold just to give you a little bit of historical on our great club. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Harold Perapalkin, 1250 Liberty Drive. I've been a Victoria Motorcycle Club member for 54 years, and I was around when they purchased the club property. And in 1964, we purchased the 160 acres, but we did not have road access to Happy Valley Road at that time, and we relied on the good nature of Mr. Louis Neff to access the 160 acres by going through his property. But later, in 1969, we decided that we better have road access too. So we thought it prudent to buy the 12 acres that joined the 160 acres and also gave us access to Happy Valley Road, so today we have 172 acres, which is green space. And it was decided by the founding members that we want to keep it for green space, for recreation. There's no indication that we would ever change anything like that. We want to keep it that way, and I think that we've been good neighbors. We encourage safe recreation of motorcycles, and I just hope that the powers to be see fit to maintain the status quo as far as the tax exemption is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harold. Anybody else for public participation for finance and environment? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption of minutes of the Finance and Environment Committee meeting of August 22nd.
Move it up.
Moved by Mayor Rands, seconded by Councillor Kahakawila. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It passes. That brings us down to the two primary items on this agenda, both tax exemption bylaws. The first is the Heritage Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 680. The recommendation is that the committee recommend that council give first, second, and third readings to the Heritage Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 680. Councillor Little? Moved by Councillor Little. Seconded by Councillor Kahakawila. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And the second is the General Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 681. The recommendation that the committee recommend council give first, second, and third reading to the General Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 681.
Move for discussion.
Councillor Kahakawila, Councillor Little, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That passes. We have no other business for Finance and Environment Committee. I'll accept the motion for adjournment.
I'll move the adjournment.
Moved by Mayor Rands, seconded by Councillor Kahakawila. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm just wondering, you're going to be chairing jury meeting, right now?
Right.
Do you want to just flip the order here,
Yeah.
so you don't have to keep doing musical chairs?
Is that all right with everybody? Okay. So for those keeping track at home, we're now going to move on to the Public Works Committee, which would normally follow our Planning Committee meeting. And yeah, good, thank you. Tina and Sarah, are we ready to go? Okay, thanks. Thank you. All right, for those who missed it the first time around, I'm sitting in for Councillor Epp tonight, who's home struggling with the last of her COVID and chose not to bring her viruses in with her tonight, for which we thank her. She'll be joining us for the council meeting later on tonight. So this is Public Works Committee. I don't believe we have any additions to the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or changes to the agenda? And move approval by Councillor Kahakawila, seconded by Councillor Little. All in favor? Opposed? And that passes. The adoption of the minutes for the Public Works Committee meeting of August 22nd, 2022. Can I get a motion for adoption? Pardon me. Before we do that, I have two corrections to make to it. Oh, public participation. My goodness. Thank you very much. Gosh, my apologies. Public participation for Public Works Committee, please. Is there anybody who wants to speak to any of the items on the Public Works Committee agenda? All right, now we'll carry on. So for the Public Works Committee meeting, I have two suggested edits. And if people agree with them, then perhaps we can get a motion to accept or to adopt the minutes as edited. Under present, I believe McKinnon is misspelled. Should be M-A-C. Don't know why that one jumped out at me. And on the, if we are amending them, if we go to item 5 in the minutes there, 5A, it says the committee received the correspondence from Bev Bacon, be received for information. And I think we can get rid of be received so that it just reads the committee received the correspondence from Bev Bacon for information.
Moved as amended.
Moved as amended by Councillor Kahakawila, seconded by Councillor Little. All in favor? Opposed? That passes. And then under 7A, we have the councillor's update from Councillor Epp. And I have one edit to that. No, I have two edits to it. The first is under Public Works. There's a bulletin about danger trees that ends a list for removal starting then without a date. And I talked with Councillor Epp, and it should just be a list for removal, period. So delete starting because they've already started. And my second suggested edit is under the DIY studio on the second page. And again, it's just a little bit of duplication here. It says installation of a key lockbox for occasional users to access this space has been installed outside. And I think you could delete installation of and just begin the sentence with a key lockbox for occasional users. Aside from that, I'm going to assume that you've read the councillor's update here. And I don't think we need to go through that point by point. But I thank Councillor Epp for a very detailed update on her activities. And there's no other business on the Public Works agenda. So, Mayor, oh, sorry.
Did we move and second the receipt of the minutes?
Yes.
The adoption of the minutes? Yes, we did. Yeah. I think you, yes. Yes, we did. Okay, so I'll accept the motion for adjournment then. Oh, Mayor Rance?
I just wanted to comment about how you will be missed, Councillor McKinnon, and it reminds me of Jeff Hadley, who was the guy on the far left in the first council, who would do just what you did. Go through and make all these little corrections. So. And he was missed, so there you go.
Thank you, Mayor Rance. And with that, I'll accept the motion for adjournment. Councillor Little, Councillor Kahakawila, all in favor, opposed, and we are adjourned. Planning Committee.
Do you want to move here or there?
Oh, I'll move over there.
Okay, then I'll just move back.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. So this is the Planning Committee meeting, the third of our 5 tonight. So we'll start with, we have nothing to add to the agenda that I'm aware of. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Mayor Rance. Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. And we have public participation. Again, similar to the previous 2 meetings. If you would like to speak, name and address, please.
Patty Whitehouse, 5311 Rocky Point Road. Just a very brief comment referring back to the discussion last planning meeting about the proposal to permit tiny homes and RVs. My comment doesn't have to do with the issue as such, but to an element of the discussion, most of which was very respectful in spite of the fact that people were expressing strong opinions on either side. I was very impressed with that. There were a few people who made quite derogatory remarks about the people they imagined would be living in those spaces. And before I moved here, I was a 30-year resident in low-cost housing in the Highlands. And I found it very offensive to have those stereotypes addressed to a person in my situation. I want to point out that in both Highlands and Metchosin, I've known tenants who have been long-term residents, have been helpful to their neighbors, have been involved in the community, have been environmentally responsible. And in both Highlands and Metchosin, I've known property owners who were not long-term residents, who were not necessarily environmentally responsible, and didn't contribute to the community beyond paying their taxes. One of the ways to build community is to welcome newcomers in all their diversity and help them feel that this is a place that they want to live and contribute to. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Nicole Shuken, Le Bon Road resident. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Council, right after the last election in November of 2018, the Le Bon Road Residents Group met with the Mayor and CAO to present our concerns with serial environmentally damaging violations on the top of Ash Mountain. Once a pristine forested peak, Ash Mountain was clear-cut of 600 trees in 2012. Shortly after, unpermitted dumping began for years. Hundreds of loads of unregulated fill were dumped atop a watershed in a neighborhood where residents like ourselves live on wells. Now, in effect for an entire election term, 4 years, various members of the Le Bon Road Residents Group have asked Council for any info or update on the progress of bylaw enforcement on Ash Mountain. I think we've collectively reached out to district and council dozens of times, probably driving you crazy over the years, but we have persisted. And each and every request, unfortunately, for an update was met with a different reason for withholding information from the public. And so just before some members of council in the district exit their roles, possibly forever, I just wanted to ask if after 4 years, the public can receive an update on the progress of bylaw enforcement on Ash Mountain. Thank you.
Okay. So would,
I can say something from the general perspective.
no, it's okay. No, no. Probably my last time to be able to do that. Sorry, the game's up a little too high. Unfortunately, Nicole, the answer is going to be the same. It is still in progress. We have recently had meetings regarding it, but there is no update that we can give you at this time. It is still under legal proceedings. No. 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 You can tell me later. Yeah, he can't. No, I can't. Okay, is there anyone, sorry, some inside humor, I suppose. So is there anyone else for planning committee tonight? It's kind of a light agenda on mine, so, no? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, so can I have someone please adopt the minutes for our planning committee? And I have checked, Councillor McKinnon, your name is spelled correctly here, but it is not spelled correctly in the next meeting.
No. If you can correct the spelling of aquifer under item 3 in those minutes,
Okay.
then I will move adoption of the corrected minutes.
Very good. Seconded by Councillor Little. Called to question. Any more edits? No. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. So I'm going to make the assumption that you've read the councillor's report. Mostly is I wanted to bring forward the items that were from West Shore Parks and Recreation. The only item to add to it, which we haven't yet received the final report from our staff, is that West Shore Parks and Recreation was a key component to the 55 plus BC Games, and hosted several of the events that were happening down there, and it wouldn't have been possible without the work of the staff at West Shore Parks and Recreation. So they have the board's appreciation, but since we're one of the owners of the facility, I figured you should know that it was a success in large part due to our part here within the West Shore. So nothing further. Can I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Mayor Rands and seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Called to question. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. I think in 4 years it's probably the easiest planning committee.
That was my favorite part.
It says push to talk, I think. No, not on that one.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is the Parks Committee meeting of September 26th. If I could have a motion, we've got a pink, sorry. We've got a pink, which is the new business. Is that off of my hearing aids?
No, it's the gain's quite high on the mic.
Say that again?
The gain is quite high on the mic, so maybe push it back just
Push
a
it back a bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Can everybody hear, Bev and Patty, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, so we have a new item. This is the minutes from the Parks and Trails Committee meeting of September 20th, which has pertinent information regarding the Weir Beach Trail on it, so don't let me forget that. And with that addition, could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kahakawila. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. There's no presentations regarding public participation. Is there anybody here who would like to speak at public participation? Go ahead, Patty.
Thank you. Patty Whitehouse, 5311 Rocky Point Road, and I'm so proud of myself for remembering it both times this week. With respect to the consideration of amendments to the animal control bylaw, most of which were recommended by the Dogs and Machosen Working Group, which I chaired. Staff has put in a note suggesting that regarding commercial dog walking, suggesting that a limit be made of 4 dogs off lead in off leash areas, after which all dogs should be more than 4. All dogs should be on leash. They say, actually, and this Andy, you'll appreciate this. Anyone who's in possession of more than 4 dogs in a municipal park must have them all on a non-retractable leash. I'm sorry, it's not realistic to have 4 dogs on a single leash. However, I get the point. I recommend, personally, I'm not speaking for the committee because we haven't met for some time, but I recommend against following this suggestion. In the first place, one of the reasons that the committee was formed, because I came forward with comments that included the point that walking a dog on lead on our rugged trails can be quite dangerous. Walking 4 dogs on lead on our rugged trails is a recipe for disaster. Dogs off leash must be under control according to our bylaw, so nothing changes there. And that doesn't matter it doesn't matter who's in charge of them, whether it's a commercial dog walker or their owner or their neighbor or whoever. The committee did suggest that, at least I believe was suggested, that Machosen initiate a licensing or permit system for commercial dog walkers, as the CRD has. If that was not decided upon, then an option might be to require commercial dog walkers to at least register with the community. Commercial dog workers who have the CRD permit register with the municipality so that you know who they are, you know you have contact information, you know that they're insured and so on, so that if any trouble does arise, they can be contacted and you can deal with them. But I would not recommend following this suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. We have additional people. Deborah?
Deborah Pyle, 4912 William Head Road. And like Patty, I did sit on the Working Dog Committee, and I also would recommend that this item not be supported by council. It does not make sense. 4 dogs on leash are no safer than 1 dog that is a poorly behaved dog on leash. And the other thing is that it's handlers that do have 4 dogs that are under electronic leash control are probably better controlled than any dogs that are on a physical leash. So and I'm not sure how it could be enforced. I think that our recommendations from our working committee really pointed out to the fact that we have to go after people that have poorly behaved dogs in public, and they need to know they have to keep their dogs under control in Machosen. And it doesn't matter if you have 5 dogs or 1 dog. So that's my perspective. Thank you.
Okay, Deborah. Additional people? Jay.
Hi, Jay Shukin, 5340 Levon Road, and I just wanted to lend my support to Robin Tunnicliffe's request for funding for an agricultural plan. As we've long known, there is no such plan in the district. In terms of where that money might come from, I understand that there is a business development fund that has been set aside. I forget the exact amount of it, might be $10,000, but that might be a place where some of the funding could come from. Clearly, this is in the line of business development and business-oriented, initiatives or whatnot. So, again, my support for Robin's suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, additional people? No? Calling once. Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Thank you for your participation. Move on with the agenda to item number 4, adoption of the minutes for August 22nd.
I'll move adoption.
Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kahakawila.
With the amendment to Councillor McKinnon's last name.
With the amendment? Okay, with that friendly amendment, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Receipt of the minutes. Could I have somebody to move receipt of the minutes of the Agriculture Advisory Committee meeting of August 31st? Move receipt by Councillor Kahakawila, second by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. Okay, business arising reports. So on my councillor's update, speaking of the dogs in the chosen, so this is on page 7 of your agenda. Let's start at the top. So I've got a summary of the activities that I was involved in at the Union of BC Municipalities Conference. It's quite extensive, but I thought since you pay for it, you paid for me my way of going, I thought I should let you know what had happened. It was a stellar meeting, especially the first day, with the overall theme of value of one, power of many. Day 1 was an agricultural tour in Squamish. I didn't know that Squamish was an agricultural community, but actually it is. We toured 5 farms. One was a school farm associated with the school. They raise on a quarter acre intense farming. They sell $40,000 to $50,000 worth of produce to the school district and around. So it was an impressive day. I got some really great ideas in terms of food security, seed security, the need for an agricultural plan, vertical farming, rotational crops, biodiversity, biomimicry. It was absolutely great. And then you can read my others. I presume that you've done that and the public might want to look at that as well. The Machosen Museum Society, we had the celebration this past weekend of the 150 years. I'd like to again extend my congratulations to the Machosen Museum Society for their absolute amazing work, both at the Pioneer Museum, but in this case at the schoolhouse. So I'd like to thank the board. So coming up to the Dogs in Machosen Working Group, there is a bit of a history of how this came about in terms of conflicts at the Sea Bluff Trail, actually, and then a number of community members came forward and said we can help, and this is exactly what we did. Council suggested that we form a Dogs in Machosen Working Group. I was the council liaison for this group, and it was incredible the amount of progress they have. This was presented to council with great accolades, and it was accepted as is in full. So my recommendation will be to let's. My recommendation I'll hold until it comes up on page 35, but I'll recommend the Dogs in Machosen Working Group recommendations. Okay, and then on the councillor's update, what else is on there? The Machosen Fire Department. Oh yeah, this was important. I was on a call with the BCEHS, the fire chief and Chief Chips, regarding our Bring Back the Calls initiative. A group of 9 women met over quite a substantial period of time because the new model, the CRM or the clinical response model, wasn't working for our rural community, and we lobbied the provincial government. They saw the error of their ways, that the CRM or the model was really tailored to an urban region, and we were actually a prototype now for rural communities. So kudos to the group for that, and that was very informative. It was just to touch base to see how we're doing, and it was well received, and our fire chief was able to give specific examples and speak well of the community and how it's working with this new turning back the clock exercise. So also, it's just a reminder that the Machosen Market continues to meet every Sunday. Hope to see you there from 11 to 2. And that Morley's Meadow, the workers, the volunteers, continue to work there every week. And we thank both groups of course, for their volunteer efforts. So that's the end of my councillor's update. Move receipt of that councillor's update. Councillor Kahakawila moves receipt of that, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Great. Regarding correspondence on page 13 of your agenda, so we have, this is a result of the last Agriculture Advisory Select Committee meeting. A motion was from that August 31st meeting, and what they're doing is, because they have in their Agriculture Advisory Select Committee meeting, in their terms of reference, they do have a mandate put forward by the Council of the Day to produce an agricultural plan. And we met with over 50 farmers at the agricultural forum, which took about a year to plan. We met with over 50 farmers. It was a chance to network, talk about the challenges, problems. At the end of the meeting, we asked for a vote. Who will support this? And the majority, 42, I think, out of the 50, or whoever was in the room, it was a majority, 48 out of 54, I can't remember. The majority wanted to move on an agricultural plan. And what I must say is, anytime I've been talking to the ministry, including Lana Popham at the UBCM, they say, you know, great, there's lots of grants available for sustainable agriculture, for thinking outside the box. Fill out the form, attach your agricultural plan, and we're away. So we're in a catch-22 because we don't have an agricultural plan, and they require it. We had Ministry of Agricultural representatives at the forum say, this is what you need to do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Salt Spring Island is one of the communities that has done this recently. We suggest you follow their model, take on a consultant to make a tailored approach for Machosen. And that's what the Agricultural Committee has suggested, and they've asked for a minimum of $20,000 from council, and they will fundraise and get matching donations for the other 20, which would be for their consultant. On your pinks, this was also brought up at the Parks and Trails meeting of September 20th. They also recommended that the where is it? Oh, you know what?
The pink was for Weir's Beach.
Pardon?
Was the pink for Weir's Beach?
Yes, it is. I was confused momentarily. Sorry. Thanks, Councillor Kahakawila. So,
On page 5 and 6 of the agenda,
on page 5.
the Agricultural Advisory Committee minutes.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I was thinking about something else. So that is for Weir's Beach. Yeah, on the agricultural, on the minutes of August 31st. It is a recommendation from the Agricultural Select Committee. Yes, that's right. Okay, so I would like to move that council allocate from a fund, and we could get some suggestions from our finance chair, that we allocate a minimum of $20,000 towards the development of an agricultural plan in Machosen.
Sure, I'm not sure what the appropriate process is here. This feeds into our budgeting process, which is already well underway, but can come in as a budgetary request from existing funding pots and an additional request if need be. But that should come from council at our next special Finance and Environment Committee meeting to do with development of the 2023 budget.
And that would be in November?
That'd be, it's probably in November, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the date has not been set because it will be with the next council.
Okay, and we don't have any special funds set aside in special development fund that we could kickstart this and support farmers, because they're chomping at the bit to get going, so that we can apply for additional funds to support farmers and in the community.
I would suggest if council wants to support it, I can talk with people and see what is available. I'm not sure what you had in mind. It sounded like you wanted to hire a consultant, in which case you'd probably need the whole sum of money at one time. And so having $5,000 in advance wouldn't necessarily help,
True.
if that's the intent.
It is the intent. Councillor Kahakavala.
Well, thank you. Just following on Councillor McKinnon, I think the appropriate...
Use your button.
Sorry, thank you. The appropriate form for this to take would be to have this referred to the next Finance and Environment so that it can be included in the budget for next year. I agree with you, I'm not sure where we'd find the funds to start now, but that should be part of the next discussion so that it's budgeted properly for. If it's $20,000 that's needed, or if it's $40,000, but it should go into that full discussion that happens once next council has been brought in.
Okay.
So there was no secondary motion, so you could make that motion.
Or finance chair could make the motion.
Sure, and I will move that we forward that request to the next Finance and Environment Committee meeting.
Okay, I already had a motion on the table, but I will withdraw that motion and we'll take yours.
It wasn't seconded, so.
Sorry, what was the motion on the table?
It was just to allocate $20,000 to the chosen Agricultural Advisory Select Committee to use for the agricultural plan to hire a consultant. But I'll withdraw that if you would like to propose your motion. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, the chair suggested a motion and then asked for your comment. A discussion took place and now a new motion is on the floor that's been moved and seconded to forward the request to the next FME committee meeting of new council.
Is that okay with you, Councillor McKinnon?
So long as we're clear that the money wouldn't be allocated to an advisory committee as you described it.
Okay.
But the advisory committee would recommend that this plan be developed and the financing happen through the municipality rather than through the advisory committee.
Right, but it would be the advisory committee that would select the consultant to move forward, and it would be the advisory committee that would work with the consultant to begin with to bring it forward to council, to give them guidelines, the terms of reference, that kind of thing. Or you think it would be
I think the preparation of the request for proposals and the evaluation of the proposals would take place with municipal staff,
okay.
but may very well seek input from the advisory committee.
Okay.
Decisions will be up to the municipality.
Okay. Okay, great. So we have a motion on the floor. It's seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, the next discussion is the Weir Beach access at the far end of Weir Beach. What we have here is a number of letters from concerned residents. I met with Mark Atherton, the chair of the Parks and Trails Committee, with one of the neighbors of this. We met with Mr. Hanan, who's a structural engineer with a specialty in oceans and water bodies and structures within it. And he proposed that he could help with it, help with the plan. He's also got a digger. What do you call them? A digger, to help if we so need that, to reduce the costs. And and then there was additional letters that were received. In particular, the problem with the stairs at the Weir Beach. So these are stairs that were actually developed and built by members of the community on the statutory right-of-way. The problem is really it comes down to safety and risk and liability. So it is very unsafe. There's a rock at the bottom that I'm fearful that as we're approaching the rainy season, people are going to slip on that rock. That rock wasn't so much exposed the way it is now at the beginning of the year, but it has eroded, and the parking is inadequate and it is really unsafe. We saw a number of different scenarios when we were standing there with the bus roaring down from William Head, and also we were right at shift change, so it is definitely a highway in that area. They have a continual problem with garbage and feces, and also there's no washrooms there, so people are using the neighbor's property for their washroom facilities. The path itself is unsafe. There's a noise problem there. But basically it boils down to this is a safety risk for the community. We saw many people slip as we were standing there, and it's a liability issue for the district. So taking into consideration all of these letters, which were very thoughtful, well-written, community-oriented, suggesting solutions, I would suggest to the committee that we temporarily close the access to this so we can formulate a plan with engagement from the community and more neighbors as they'll become aware of what is happening, and we get a plan together, work with staff and move forward. What say ye? Mayor Rans.
Well, to start with, I think that from a safety perspective, it's certainly not in the best of shape. But there's sections of the Devonian Trail that are in worse shape. And there's a number of trails in the CRD Park system that are in worse shape. And I would say that I just finished hiking some alpine trails that were in way worse shape, far more dangerous. So I don't think safety is necessarily the thing that we should be considering. I agree we should just shut it down, but if we're going to shut it down, we should just shut it down, because the parking isn't going to get any better. If there is a desire to improve the stairs, it's going to take a whole pile of money because of the nature of the berm that's there. So there would have to be a lot of trees removed. You would have the problems then of slope slippage and everything else. So I think we should just bite the bullet and shut her down, period, for good.
Okay, I'll comment afterwards. And Councillor McKinnon?
I agree with Mayor Rands. I think if there are safety concerns and they've been expressed in the correspondence, and you from your personal observations, that from a public safety point of view, from a municipal liability point of view, it makes sense to shut it down.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Lisa, did you want to comment?
Just a comment on process. This is a road right-of-way, so it would require a road closure bylaw, and there's a process for that, public notification. So if you are wanting to consider that and recommend something that we look at that, I would recommend that you refer this to staff to bring you forward information as to the process for the road.
Okay. I would like to go ahead. If I could just give Councillor Cockawilla an opportunity before I go back to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. That was one of the things that I was going to bring up, but the other was whether or not this should be referred to the Municipal Insurance Authority as well, just to have a double check on it. And if, while we're waiting for the staff report to come back on the process for road closure, is it possible for us to put up like temporary closure signs, or would that be increasing our liability?
So if you're wanting to refer to MIA, there is a program in place for MIA to conduct a risk assessment, and any assessment that they do on that or recommendations that they put forward, we would then qualify to use the grants that come from our dividends from the Municipal Insurance Association. So I would, if you are wanting to refer this to staff, staff would also reach out to MIA in regards to what the next steps are.
Okay, Councillor McKinnon.
That was more or less my recommendation, that we were discussing the procedures to be followed for road closure, and I would much prefer to see an evaluation of options for making it a safe trail before we move to close it permanently. If that's the best option, then the next council can decide to do that, but I want to be sure that we at least evaluate the options that are available to us in terms of making it a safe trail before we decide to make it an X trail.
Yeah, okay. So I've walked the trail quite a bit. It is treacherous. I've also walked Devonian, and Devonian is immaculate compared to this trail. It is really pretty terrible. And what is also the problem is people that are parking there, but I don't think we should penalize local residents who use that as a path to Weir Beach. That's what it was set up. A community-spirited community got together, developed those trails. There are people, also kids from Pearson College, rather than going down Sandgate, they take that as well. So it's not just people in cars that this would be penalizing, and I don't think we should take a community access away from the community, because I think we just need to think outside the box. Don't forget the Parks and Trails Department did develop the Pears Roadside Trail in record time, under budget, for a very minimal amount of money with our contractor, Harold Peralpolkin, and lots of volunteer work. So I think it can be done. We just need to think outside the box. And we did walk a bit into the area, and there may be a way to do it very safely, and keeping in mind the stability of the slope. And I would not like to see it closed permanently. A temporary closure for safety and for liability reasons. So go ahead, Mayor Rance.
Well, I just wanted to clarify that, as you have already said, that the parking is unsatisfactory, and there's just no room on that corner to do anything else with it. My chief concern is the cost, and as this will be referred to with the new council, if we refer this to staff, is that that's something that they're going to have to come to grips with. But as someone that is familiar with construction, it is not going to be a cheap process to make the stairs better. So just again, from a cost perspective, I think that the result is going to end up being shutting it down.
Okay, that's your opinion. So we do have members of the public who have significant expertise that they're willing to gift in kind. I think we should at least listen to them. The letters were very positive, but they're concerned about safety and liability, especially the owner, Mr. Hanan, because it encroaches on his property at one end. So if all of you could also take a look at it, make a trip there, that'd be great. Okay, so what do we do then?
Call the question.
Refer this to...
Well, there's been no motion, but
No.
I've got quite a bit
Didn't we make a
of
motion?
direction from
Okay.
this discussion in regards to referring this to staff to provide the process as to the road closure bylaw, refer to MIA to look at the grant program funding as a risk, and do the risk assessment, and then bringing forward options for safer passage. So all options for the new council.
Okay. There was a suggestion in one of the letters that we needed a survey. We were able to identify 2 of the IPEGs on the one, and we didn't go to the other end because there was a lot of brush, but I think those pegs can be identified. I don't know if we need a survey. I don't think so, but you can evaluate. Could you include that in the evaluation as well?
That would be part of the road closure bylaw if that was something that the new council wanted to proceed with.
Okay.
That would have to take place.
Okay, would you like a motion to that effect, all of that? Or
I can just do it as an action item.
An action item?
For the
Okay.
discussion, unless you're more comfortable with a recommendation to refer to that.
are you okay with an action item, or would you like to make a recommendation?
I think that,
I was going to say, I move we just refer this item to staff.
I'd like it a little bit more concrete than that. I really would like it to be a temporary closure, as I've mentioned several times. Could I have a recommendation?
If I may, that would flow from what the staff report back for, whether it would be temporary or not. The council, the next council, if we refer this to staff, will then have the option of making the decision whether to make it temporary or to make it permanent. And any recommendation we make will have no impact with regards to a temporary closure, will have no impact on the new council regardless.
Okay, but if we phrase it in terms of a temporary closure, it surely gives the people some hope that major infrastructure wouldn't be closed.
May I suggest that you have a motion, refer to staff? If there's no seconder, we can continue on changing that motion.
Okay, could I have a motion to refer this to staff?
Sorry, no, John has made the motion to refer to staff, and if there is no seconder, we'll just move into a different type of recommendation.
Councillor McKinnon.
I'll second that for discussion. I believe Lisa's notes covered most of the things that we're asking staff to do, so I'm happy with that. My only concern is whether we want to discuss whether we ought to implement a temporary closure while we're waiting for the staff report. In other words, whether you think it's important that we prohibit access to this area sooner rather than waiting for the staff report back.
Yeah, I actually think I think it would be wise of us. I hate to do it, but the rains are coming, and that, especially that bottom rock, is going to be very problematic. So I'd like to see us move on a temporary closure immediately. Okay, we'll take that as a separate motion. So we'll vote on the motion on the table to refer this to staff with all the different points that our CAO has recommended. Anybody else?
No, actually, Councillor McKinnon said exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so the second motion will be to move to temporary close that and put the mechanisms in place with the Public Works to temporary close that trail.
Moved.
Moved by Councillor Kahakawila,
I'll second
seconded
that.
by Councillor McKinnon. Any discussion? Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, where are we? Aha. Okay, so we're moving on to the staff report of the Animal Control Amendment Bylaw. This is on page 35 of your agenda package. Okay, so we have a letter, Parks Committee from the Chief Administrative Officer to staff regarding the Animal Control Amendment Bylaw 676. There was a number of changes that were made. I would also like to number one, thank the Dogs and Machosen Working Group for their work on this. I want to remind the committee that we did accept all of their recommendations as is. And I would like to also include my comments regarding the dogs on leash. I think we met and we talked mostly about dogs under control, and that's why we spent an inordinate amount of time talking about what does under control. So 4 dogs out of control on the leash or 4 dogs off a leash out of control, it doesn't really matter. So I would reject that recommendation as well. It just is, I don't think that is to the benefit of the community. And I really think, I don't have a lot of expertise in this. And that's why we asked the people in the community that have expertise. So if you feel uncomfortable about this, we could refer it back to the Dogs and Machosen Working Group. I don't know if there's appetite to have a quick meeting this week. We've got 2 members here at least.
I will be away this week.
Oh, you'll be away this week. I don't really want to leave this for next council because this was an initiative of this council. And so I will ask for comment and perhaps a motion in particular about the 4 dogs in a municipal park item. Councillor McKinnon.
would be uncomfortable making a recommendation on the revised bylaw as is, given the comments brought forward in the public participation. And for me, it's less important that this get passed by this council than that it get reconsidered by the Dogs in Machosen committee. And if that takes a few weeks and puts it beyond the responsibilities of this council and on to the next council, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Council,
So I will make the motion that this be referred back to the Dogs in Machosen working group for their recommendations.
okay.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Kahakawila. And that would be fine with me as well. I think it's important that they have their say. There's quite a few minor changes as well that weren't in their initial intent, so I think that's a good recommendation, Councillor McKinnon. So anybody else would like to comment on that? No? Okay, with that, I'll call the question. Sir?
Ask who seconded it? Thank you.
Sorry. Moved by Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Kahakawila. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, good. And this is the municipal ticket information authorization, page 91 of the of your agenda. And this is the municipal ticket amendment bylaw. I'm just wondering, do we want to also include this with the Dogs in Machosen working group? It's more straightforward than before, but they may want to have them hand in hand. If that's the case, could I have a motion on the floor then?
Certainly, I'll move that the staff report municipal ticket information authorization amendment bylaw number 679 also be referred to the Dogs in Machosen working group.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor.
I keep wanting to say Douglas in Machosen.
Dogs in Machosen working group. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Kahakawila. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. So I just want to comment that we had also a reconciliation meeting the other night. I forgot to add that to my councillor's agenda, and I was remiss in not acknowledging that we're on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish, and in particular the Shiano First Nations. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Kahakawila.
Just a motion to receive the Parks and Trails Advisory Committee minutes. Say that again. The Parks and Trails Advisory Committee minutes, and then the correspondence from.
So we did add the pinks, and we've got them right here, and Tina's just reminding us to have a motion to receive the PTASC minutes.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Okay, if I could have, you have the minutes before you. These are the minutes for a recent meeting, September 20th. If I could have a motion to receive these minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Kahakawila, second by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by
Motion to receive the pinks.
we already did.
No, we did.
already
We
did
did.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that at the beginning.
Correspondence is for the
Council meeting. Okay.
Yeah, we
good.
did that. Thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn. Moved
So
by
moved.
Councillor Kahakawila, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody.
And I just need a few minutes to get Councillor Little online.
Or Council.
Councillor F. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just break for 90 seconds or so.
We are just about to start the special council meeting.
Right. Okay, ready? Call to order the special council meeting. Motion to approve the agenda. We have correspondence moved by Councillor Little, second by Councillor Kahakawilla. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Public participation to the special council meeting. And if anybody has any doubts that Councillor Epp is malingering, you can hear that she's she's not.
Hi, Jay Shukin, 5340 Laban Road, and I wanted to address the 2 development variance permits before you tonight. And just reading through them, they could not be different. And that difference raises for me a number of questions. So with the Neeld Road DVP, to my mind, you have a solid proposal in terms of the staff report, sure, but also the information that's been provided by the owner. You have clear support by the adjoining neighbors as well. And you also have a very clear rationale for the variance in terms of placement, but also especially in terms of reduced environmental impact. So when I look at the other DVP on Machosen Road, a number of questions come up because it's quite different because big thing with the Neeld Road DVP is it's before the fact. It's before the property has been built. Very different situation with the Machosen Road DVP. This is after the fact. As I understand through the staff report, there's some circumstances which have brought the property owner here to get the DVP. And there is no sign of any neighbor support for the DVP. Now, and Councillor McKinnon asked for that at the last meeting, as I recall, and I don't know if there's been any input from the neighbors, but it is striking in terms of the contrast with the Neeld Road DVP. The one thing that this does for me is it does raise questions about the Machosen Road permit application. The one thing too is just even a quick drive by, you notice that there is an asphalted driveway to the structure in question. And I wonder too if that asphalted driveway requires its own development permit variance or development variance permit. So I would just ask council, to me, there are a number of things still unresolved with the Machosen Road development variance permit application, and I would just ask you to consider those tonight as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. Anyone else? Go ahead, Beth.
Good evening, Bev Bacon, Machosen resident. I'm not going to read my letters. I hope you've read them. I'm opposed to granting a variance permit to 4252 Machosen Road for all the reasons that I put in my letters, but I've just made 9 points that I think are salient that I'd like you to listen to. So there's a principle here. Bylaws and building code are not just suggestions. We expect adherence to them. Number 2, there's no better time to get compliance than when the property owner is making an application to the district, in this case to build a new house. Number 3, remember the clean hands policy. There should be no staff time spent on an application for this address until the existing areas of non-compliance are corrected. I'd really like our district to get firm on this. Number 4, there will never be an easier time to move the garage than now when the house is gone. Number 5, this is not a hardship case. Bringing the garage into compliance is the cost of doing business. Number 6, think of the message that you're giving the public. We have firmed up our bylaw enforcement on paper, but we really don't mean it. Number 7, think of the message you're giving to our new staff. Check with council before you enforce a bylaw, because sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. Number 8, this is very straightforward. The garage is in the wrong place. I understand the edge of the roof is 20 centimeters from the property line. Number 9, in reading the staff report, do I understand correctly that the garage was built without a building permit to begin with? What's the consequence for that? Thank you.
Anyone else? Shelley?
Shelley Donaldson, Chalister Court property owner. I just wanted to comment on the discussion that took place at the Parks meeting regarding the stairs at Weirs Beach. I appreciate that there was pros and cons shared at the table, and having been in that area frequently, because I go all through all our trails, it is, I'm very pleased to hear that it actually will have temporary closure and an assessment and a survey, I guess, a complete survey. Sounds like it's only partial at this point. A number of years ago, the scouting youth had gone in and had done some improvements, and over the years it has eroded. And when I had visited it recently, the rebar in every one of those stairs is exposed by at least 2 inches above the surface. So it's good that you're closing it now, and it does definitely need to be addressed. Whether it's completely closed or not, I don't know. I hope it does. I hope it is reopened at some point. It was a year ago that we put tens of thousands of dollars into the Sea Bluff Trail, which was closed for a year. I really hope that this council, before it leaves, and the new council have a better plan. I'm not spending a lot of money, but really do the homework before a lot of time and money are invested of taxpayers' dollars. It is a valuable asset to have. The second comment I wanted to bring forward was because a couple of members of the community have asked me the question, and I haven't taken the time to post anything about this on Facebook. At one of the previous meetings, I had said that there were 4 members of the equestrian club that were going to the 55 plus games, and we all did, and we had a great experience. We didn't bring home any medals, but we brought home a lot of memories. The medals went to our esteemed, very experienced coaches on the island, all the way up to Black Creek. And I think that we've really injected a lot of enthusiasm into our particular discipline, which is working equitation, which is brand new, well, not brand new, 2017, it actually came to Canada. And our club is sponsoring quite a lot of that activity. More than half of the obstacles that we've been refurbishing this past 6 months were used in the games. And so on the lookout, we'll be having some clinics and shows in the Victoria region. So I also wanted to mention that we had put a call out to the municipalities for loan of flags, and the ones that were able to provide us with flags was Esquimalt, Oak Bay, Saanich, and Langford, and those were displayed in the arena with our competition. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, Shelley, Sue Lynn and I went and took a look at that at the stairs and saw the rebar, and yeah, it certainly would be a simple thing just to pound the rebar back down again. However, the real problem is the trespass, and that's what's going to, that's what is going to require a major rebuild of the whole thing. And the question will be, can the berm stand it without taking the trees down? So,
yeah. So I support the assessment process for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to public participation? Yes.
Eric White, 4290 Chosen Road. I just wanted to thank council for all they've done for our community for the last 4 years, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone else? Dr. O'Connor.
Robert O'Connor, property owner, 246 Delgada. I would like to second that motion. I think the council's done, I really appreciate the council, the mayor, and the hardworking staff here to do such a great volunteering, really so much of their time they get paid, but just the volunteering of it. And the outcome of that is that the health of this population in this community is extremely improved because of your hard work. So this will probably be the last time I'll get to see some of you, so I just wanted to express my appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I would suggest that your hard work has got something to do with it too, but.
This is fun.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on then. To the mayor's report. It is. Here it comes. She tried. I just want to, acknowledge all of the aspiring candidates here. It's good to see you all, and all of you that have absolutely no idea what you'll be getting yourselves into if you do get elected, and if evidence of that would be how happy Andy is tonight. And as to Nicole's question about the the Laban Road issue, Nicole, I can assure you that if things go your way, then your husband will be dealing with it. That was it. Yeah. That was it that I got shot down for, right? Okay, come on. And as for the UBCM, yeah, there's a number of us went to lots of meetings, did lots of stuff. And the school opening, I know Councillor Little has already covered this, but it was really a nice event. And one of the things that I think really needs to be mentioned a lot, and that is the amount of work that Bob Bridges put into that. It really is phenomenal what was achieved there, and it really does show the value of this community and the residents in it that are just very quietly, without any fanfare or anything else, putting amazing efforts into achieving the vision of what this community could be. So thanks to everybody that was involved in that, and it's, as I said at the opening, when I went and took overflow classes there over 65 years ago, if anybody had ever thought then or that the school would still be there even, but more than that, looking vastly better than it did 65 years ago, nobody would have believed it. Of course, then I don't think too many people would have believed that I'd be still around after 65 years either. But anyways, finally, I just want to report that we had a Maryhill Steering Committee meeting today that was just the nicest meeting. It was kind of a thank you for Councillor McKinnon's efforts over the years, Lisa's and mine. And it really, those kinds of things, and I'm saying this to the future candidates, or the future councillors, those are the kind of things that really make up for a lot of the tough times and the negativity and everything like that. It was, it was special, yeah. So I certainly hope the new councillors will get to experience the good things like we have on those kinds of committees. Anyway, so much for that. We go into the Oh, I'd also like to acknowledge two of my sons at the very back there, and my son-in-law, and they're here to drag me out of this if I talk too long. So, so anyways, the first item of business is the request for development variance permit on Machosen Road. Councillor McKinnon.
I remain concerned about this application. I appreciate from the memo that we've received that there is no immediate requirement for a neighbor survey for this kind of a variance permit application. During our site visit, I was reminded of the fact that the garage that we're talking about, that's too close to the property line, is used as a place to tune up and repair race cars. And one of the concerns about placement of these buildings, and one of the reasons that we asked for setbacks from property lines, had to do with noise. And so in this case, although there's not an absolute and immediate requirement under our policies to request input from neighbors, I think it's especially important that we seek input from the neighbors on this issue. And until we get that input, I'm not prepared to support this application.
Councillor Kahakawala.
Yeah, if I can. So I know that we did. You're right. Because this is a development variance permit that doesn't deal with a detached suite, we don't need the property owner to directly petition their neighbors. We did, after the last meeting, resend out the information to the direct neighbors, correct? Yeah. And we still have received nothing from them. Yeah. Okay. I'm not. I mean, Councillor McKinnon is correct. It's not an urgent situation to deal with. However, that particular building does need to be dealt with at some point, given the fact that it is obviously still being used. And regarding the clean hands policy, it was brought to staff's attention when the building permit was given for the house that they needed to bring that building into compliance, hence the reason why the development variance permit. So if we keep delaying this, where does that leave the property owner?
In non-compliance.
Okay, and the consequences of that is?
Well, are you wanting to delay it? Because then that triggers the district meeting to send out letters again to adjacent neighbors who aren't responding back with any concerns, support, or objection. And if you are wanting to delay it, then I would suggest that we could adjourn into in camera and deal with the bylaw enforcement matter, or we could just refer this to staff to bring forward to the new council at an upcoming in-camera meeting.
Another question. If we do issue the development variance permit and problems arise in the future due to, let's say, noise complaints, what is our recourse? Or do we have any because we've already given a permit that now legitimizes where that building is located?
It doesn't legitimize noise. Noise is a separate bylaw.
Thank you.
Councillor Little.
Yeah, so what we have here, just for the people that haven't visited the site, is we have a 4,500 square foot house being built on 3/4 of 1 acre, so it's a very small lot. There's a 3-car garage. 3-car garages that are built in. There's 3-car garages built into the house already, and this is another garage, so there will be 4 garages with active activity for race cars at the back of the property, and it is extremely close. The the overhang is within, I think we measured 20 centimeters to the side of the building. It was 54. It's extremely close. And I think it behooves us to do something about this, because there have been numerous complaints on record regarding the noise bylaw. Regarding the noise bylaw, we also know that we lost a court case this year for a number of reasons. One of them was that noise bylaw it has loopholes in it. So it's all well and good to say we have the noise bylaw, but it is very hard to enforce. It's very hard for the residents to document that they are experiencing excessive noise, and the bylaw itself needs significant changes. So I would suggest that we deny the application for the DVP.
Councillor Kohakawala.
Yeah, just to comment on the noise bylaw, the particular item in question regarding the lawsuit that was, or sorry, the court case that was lost, it wasn't lost because there was loopholes in the noise bylaw. There aren't, but there are things that could be, I had brought it in to have it reviewed. One of the reasons why we didn't win the court case is because of documentation and chain of or not chain of evidence, but burden of proof. So that in and of itself should not be a reason why we deny the application. If we're going to deny the application or refer it back to staff, it should be on the merits of the actual application, which is where the building is located.
Well, I'm going to weigh in on this too. We're talking about a building that was built where it was, I think it was 25 years ago or something like that, with the blessing of the previous neighbor. So there's been owners, multiple owners down the road, and the previous neighbor who initially said that it was okay, and then when the existing owner moved in, well, then there was issues. So that neighbor is no longer there. It would seem that the new neighbor hasn't responded, so one would assume that they don't have any great objections. So it's not like, I mean, that building was purchased by the current owner with it in that position. And that position was done with the blessing, like I said, of the previous neighbor. So the question then comes, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? Are we going to make that person who bought this with where that building has sat there for 20 some odd years without anybody worrying about it, are we going to make them move it? And that's a considerable expense. For what? If the current neighbor doesn't particularly care about it, and I understand what Councillor McKinnon is saying, that it would be nice if we knew for sure, but the fact that the current neighbor has been advised twice and hasn't responded is an indication that there isn't a burning interest there. So it's easy to say, well, we know it's wrong, but we need to do something about it. Well, this community is filled with things that have been done that are outside of our existing bylaws. So are we going to go around and make everybody fix it? No, I don't think so. I just, it seems to me that if nobody really cares about this, then you should just leave it alone, rather than force somebody to go to considerable expense and for what? Councillor McKinnon.
I'd like to move that we follow option 3, table the application and request further information from staff or from the applicant. The nature of that further information being another attempt to get input from the neighbors, and bring that package back to the next council.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Kohakawala. Discussion, go ahead.
Just to add to that, I'd also like to get some information either from the property owner, or it's probably actually from the property owner, as to what the feasibility would be to actually move that structure. We might as well have that conversation at the same time. Because if it's going to be a significant hardship, then that's something that the next council should consider, especially if the adjacent landowner doesn't have any issues with where the building is now.
Councillor Little.
Yeah, so as I understood the history, and we had discussed it in the last 4 years, the previous owners did not necessarily give their blessing, but they acknowledged that the previous owner had put up a carport. So there's a big difference between a carport and a structure that we observed there with a paved driveway. So if you look at the topographical maps, you'll see that the driveway is a relatively new structure compared to the age of the property, as well as the building is significantly different than it was originally acknowledged, I think, rather than giving it a blessing. And it's not everybody in the community that we're dealing with here. We're dealing with this particular developed variance process, and we almost unanimously approve all these developed variance permits. So a member of the community could say, well, why do this? You always approve them anyways. Even when you have good reason to deny it, you approve it. I just think, why have bylaws if you're not going to enforce them? And it's not everybody. We're not going around the community. And I also don't think it's fair to ask new owners who want to get along with their new neighbors and promote community spirit, and they don't want any trouble. I don't think we should have the onus on them to say, oh yeah, in the future I probably won't have problems with the noise. I don't think that's fair. So I'd support the option 3.
The something that the new council is going to have to come to grips with is, what is our purpose here? Is our purpose to rigidly enforce bylaws? If that's the case, we don't even need to be here. Staff handles it. If our purpose here is to find solutions that don't harm people unduly, then that takes a lot more work. And that's what makes a good counselor, is somebody that will look and not just take the black and white solutions, but will put in the extra effort and the time that it takes to find solutions that suit all parties to whatever extent you can, and not unduly harm people, like I said. The fact that it's got a paved driveway has no consideration in this whatsoever, other than the fact if you make them move it, then the driveway won't be aligned. So there's another additional cost. So, I support Councillor McKinnon's motion as anyone who is leaving this business and leaving it up to somebody else to make the hard decisions would. So I congratulate you on that, Councillor McKinnon. But when it comes to it, with the new council, and we've got candidates sitting here that are going to be sitting on the new council, our job is not just to do the black and white stuff. Our job is to deal with the gray areas, and have some compassion for the people that we are making edicts over. So that's a little bit of a parting appeal here. Go ahead.
Yeah, and because we're going to be dealing with this with the next item as well, but variance permits are a tool given to us by the province that allows us to evaluate individual applications that come forward that may not comply with our bylaws. And these are people who are attempting to come into compliance, which is generally the reason why, well, it's not generally the reason why, but it's one of the reasons why when we look at these, a fair amount of them do go through, because it is something that you take a look at what your bylaw is, and you take a look at the situation, and does it require to have a change or an adjustment or a consideration. And so that's the reason why this is in front of us. They're trying to get into compliance. Perhaps I should have done this earlier, but it is what it is, it's where it is now. And with the next application, again, we're going to see a situation where we have a bylaw in place that for this particular landowner doesn't make sense for them to be able to build their legal detached secondary suite. So the variance process is designed to allow us to be flexible when it makes sense to do so. So just as a note, per Mayor Rands' comments, it's one of those things that that you will learn sitting at this table, that it's part of the process.
That's right. Thank you for that, Councillor Kahakawila. Every decision that I've heard made with regards to granting a variance was done with a whole lot of thought and in the context of what you and I have just described. Anyway, any further discussion on Councillor McKinnon's motion? We all understand the motion. It's to refer. Okay. I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we go to developments permit on Neil Road. Councillor Kahakawila.
Sure. I move that we issue development variance permit number 2205.
Seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Discussion. Councillor Little.
Yeah, so this is a totally different case. They're asking for permission before they build it, absolutely, and they were suggesting creative options, which I liked. We attended the site visit, Councillor Epp, McKinnon, Kahakawila, and myself, and we were able to see for ourselves, and I think that should be mandatory for all of these development variance permits, because it really did highlight that if we asked them to do what was in the permit, what they were supposed to do, it would mean cutting down some arbutus trees. It just wasn't very practical. We had a discussion there with the landowner, and they could give us her reasons, and it was very worthwhile. So this is a totally different case, and with creative options, and I'll support this.
Nothing further.
Okay. We have a motion?
I made the motion, Councillor McKinnon
right,
seconded it.
If there's no further discussion, those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Bylaw enforcement.
But those are referral motions.
Oh, we didn't have those.
Yeah, I was gonna add that as part of the agenda, but I thought that wasn't required. Yeah. Okay.
Do you want to
Was that a cough of approval, Councillor Epp? Okay, so where should we insert that? Okay. So we will go on then to the staff report on the bylaw enforcement policy.
Okay. I'll ask our CAO first if there's anything she'd like to add to it. If not, I will make the recommendation. Okay. Okay. I move that Council repeal bylaw enforcement policy PR 100.20. I'm going to do these in two separate. So if I can have a seconder.
Councillor McKinnon.
I'll second that.
Well, actually, question though, should I do them together, or because in the event that we don't adopt?
Just thinking that.
Wait a minute.
You want to do them in tandem.
Okay.
Because there would be a risk if you
Decide not to.
this and then you didn't decide to go forward with that.
Okay.
You would have no enforcement policy guiding staff.
Oh no, that would be wrong. Okay, so I hold that thought, Councillor McKinnon, that we repeal bylaw enforcement policy PR 100.20 and adopt bylaw enforcement policy PR 100.21.
Councillor McKinnon.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion? Call the question. No? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to give a shout out to the APRM for their assistance with putting this bylaw policy together, or helping us do it, and also to staff, and in particular to our CAO for the work that she did on correlating all of our comments, the APRM's comments, the public comments, and going through the workshops and making sure that we had all of the items capsulized. This policy, the new policy, does allow for greater protections for the environment, as well as it does do a slight shift in the fact where it says district staff, while on district business, if they notice that there is a possible bylaw infraction that could cause harm to a person's imminent health, safety, and to the environment or liability concern, will then move it forward without it being a complaint-driven process. So this brings us, I hope, a little closer to the public understanding and council's role in dealing with bylaw enforcement matters, and strengthens what it is that we're doing here. So thank you again to council, to mayor, to our CAO, and the public and APRM for their support in finally getting this to this point.
Anyone? Yeah, well, thank you for that, Councillor Kalakawilla. You were, that was very well said. I was going to give credit to Lisa as well for adding a whole lot of clarity to what our practices already are. So it was very well done. Okay, I'll call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we have the building inspection reports and the public communication reports. I'll take them both.
Move receipt.
Moved by Councillor Kalakawilla.
I'll second that.
Councillor Little. Discussion. Being none. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we have Scouts Canada, Apple Day.
Yeah, I move that we perhaps put this on our website and explain to the community that be aware that the Scouts will be on the streets on October 8th of 2020. They do wonderful work, and they would like our acknowledgement and our approval, and they would like us to publicly state that, and I suggest we put that on the website.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Kalakawilla. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have two items that should have been included and weren't. I wasn't totally cognizant of, and I thought that they didn't need to be, but apparently they do, and that is by the bylaw heritage tax exemption.
First, second, third.
Yeah, Councillor McKinnon.
So I'll move that council give first, second, and third reading to Heritage Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 680.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Kalakawilla. Discussion.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be done individually first.
Right. Yeah.
I'll move that council give first reading to Heritage Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 680.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Kalakawilla.
Second on the first.
And and I'll take the cough as a vote in affirmation. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Second reading.
I'll move that council give second reading to the Heritage Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 680.
Seconded by Councillor Little. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And I'll move that council give third reading to the Heritage Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 680.
Councillor Epp, would you like to second that? Sure. Yeah. Seconded by Councillor Epp. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we go to the general tax exemption bylaw.
I'll move that council give first reading to the General Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 681.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Kalakawilla. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I'll move that council give second reading to the General Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 681.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Little. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And I'll move that council give third reading to the General Tax Exemption Bylaw 2022, number 681.
Seconded by Councillor Epp. Yes. Yes. Call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And that ends the business. Yeah. So at the CRD, they have changed the procedures by law so that you could do first and second in one go. And you can do first, second, third, and fourth on the same day. Now, I wouldn't want to see us to go there. I think that's bad policy, but that's what they do anyways to speed things up. So all you candidates out there, forget that I said that. And before we adjourn, I'd just like to wish all of you candidates good luck, and that may mean that you lose. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by
I'll
Councillor
second that.
Willis, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. Discussion. Those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks everyone for coming.
Really?
Those are tricky ones.